Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Lone Star College, back indoor center. It's so nice to see all the faces, new and old. Woohoo! So I'm Raymond Francois. We had a slight coup d'etat. Gerald decided to go on vacation, so I was like, I'm gonna take over chairman while at his job too. So if you're gonna do it, you do it right. Should have came to work. So they're gonna vote myself in for chairman next month, just saying. And I would like to introduce our speaker. The Honorable Kevin Brady is a pro-family, pro-business conservative who proudly represents the 8th Congressional District of Texas. Kevin is the only third Texan in history to lead the powerful House Ways and Means Committee, considered to be the most influential committee in Congress, with control over taxes, international trade, healthcare, Medicare, Social Security, and welfare. He currently serves as the top Republican on the committee. While chairman, Kevin led the effort to pass the historic Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the first comprehensive overhaul of America's tax system in more than 30 years. As a recognized national leader on free trade, he has helped successfully secure passage of 13 of America's 15 free trade agreements, including President Trump's U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. His successful achievements also include negotiating an end of the 40-year ban on selling U.S. crude oil overseas, the first reform of the IRS in 2 decades, sweeping reform of America's retirement system, banning surprise medical bills, eliminating the Obamacare individual mandate, and making the research and development tax credit permanent. Prior to his election to Congress, Kevin worked as a Chamber of Commerce executive for 18 years and served 6 years in the Texas House of Representatives. To stay close to the people he represents, he never moved to Washington and lives in the Woodlands with his wife and 2 sons. Kevin has logged more than 2.5 million miles commuting from Texas to Congress, equivalent to 5 trips to the moon. Round trips, that is.
Great job, Raymond. Great job, Raymond. Thanks very much for emceeing today, and thank you all for inviting me here today to talk about the economy and taxes and some of the things that affect small businesses here in our part of the world, in our part of Texas. I want to first thank the Chamber just for the amazing job this organization does for our community and region. This is, Bruce, your leadership is just unbelievable. Where'd Bruce go? He's working. His leadership throughout the years, this chamber has always been one of the best ever in Texas. And you see it in healthcare and roads and new businesses recruited. And here we are at Lone Star, here at Montgomery College. Where we're at today in this school wouldn't be here without this Chamber of Commerce. I remember when the business community came together with the community college and the community at large to win the election, expand this when these doors were first opened. And we take it for granted today, but this chamber has delivered so much for this community, to the board, to the volunteers, to the leaders, past and present. Thank you so much for all you do. Yeah, boy, deserve a round of applause there. And I think, did I see our founding president did I see Roy here as well? Where's Roy Lazenby? In the back there. Thank you. It is great too. You know, Tomball is so popular that every congressman wants to claim you. Have you noticed that? So Sherry, thank you. So Mike McCall, I will tell you, he is such a leader, not just in Congress, but in the world on foreign affairs, on cybersecurity, on homeland security. Now he's leading the effort to hold China accountable for everything in the world. Thank you for all that you're doing. It's nice to see Congressman Crenshaw's folks here today. Dan does just an amazing job. He's our newest member on the Energy and Commerce Committee fighting for Texas energy. It's just great. Thank you. Tell Dan hi for him. We're glad he's doing well. It's great to see. I see a lot of old friends. As you know, you may have heard this will be my last term in Congress. And the reason is that Jeff and Tracy Klein called me and said, you know, Kevin, you're really getting old. You know, it's really time for you to hang it up and move on down the road. So I always listen very carefully to Jeff and Tracy. He said, no, they did not do that. Sorry for throwing you under the bus. They're great friends. I love this job. I love representing you. It's been the honor of a lifetime, and I've got to do big things for you. But 25 years, that's a long haul. And so we are going to find a new adventure going forward. In the meantime, we got some tax increases we need to stop. You know, we need to do some good things left for America. We got more gas in the tank here, so I want to talk about that. I also want to tell you that aren't you glad you live in Texas? I mean, man, how blessed are we? You know, I'll tell you, you go around the country, and at the Chamber's Conference, I guarantee you, you don't hear a reminder from our VFW leaders about the Korean War and about our military men and women. That happens here in Tomball. Stephen, thank you for that. We have come through a tough year and a half, and you know, a lot of the communities around the country, I travel a lot, they are just starting to open up. I mean, those doors are just kind of creaking open. Here we've been, in Texas, it wasn't perfect, but you know, we opened early, we tamped down the flare-ups, we made a way to reopen, and it really shows, and I'm so grateful to our business community, our essential workers, and businesses that fought to stay open during this. I'm grateful for our healthcare leaders and our frontline workers, for our EMT, our law enforcement did amazing job. Our banks, who fought through all that PPP stuff to try to get us the help. God bless you for hanging there. But in our teachers, in our school districts, you know, it's hard to believe it around. Oh no, thank you. I don't need that. Thank you for that gift. I'm not even done talking yet, but you're so kind. You know, you're looser when you're retiring. Have you noticed that in all this stuff? It's hard to believe, but around the country today, they're actually in some regions, they're debating whether to open school for the first time this next fall. Think about that. Thank God our school leaders, our teachers, our educators found a way to reopen and get our kids, you know, we're either the worst homeschool parents in America, or we've just got some kids that, you know, didn't learn so well remotely. But boy, when you're back in class, you're surrounded by those teachers and coaches and instructors and all that, and it makes all the difference in the world. Thank God we're here in Texas. Let's talk about, in Lone Star especially, I will tell you, my oldest son is 22. He's a welder, works in Magnolia for a family-owned business there, loves what he does. And my youngest son just graduated from College Park. He's going to Lone Star too. So this college really, you know, does great things for families like ours. And our kids, you know, won't be going to four-year college. The trades are what they want to do. They love it. And thank God we have colleges like this, you know, because we need workers like that in Texas and in America. So let's talk about this economy. So look, 2020, as you know, was a rough year to say the least. 2021, I think, came in with a lot of advantages. We had a recovering economy. We had more parts of the country reopening. We had life-saving vaccines and trillions of dollars of COVID emergency aid all pouring in the economy. So we ought to be, as a nation, just roaring right now, but we're not. In fact, job growth has actually slowed in 2021. And you think, now how can that be? I always look, we have 6 months of jobs here this year. I look at the last 6 months of 2020, which were some of the height of the COVID. So last half of last year, America added about 4.5 million new jobs. This year, with all these advantages, we're 1.5 million short of that. Job growth is actually slowing, which shouldn't be happening. Thankfully, we're in Texas where we're not seeing this, but let's talk about some of those barriers, and there is a way you can help us get back on track. So let me talk about this June jobs report. Friday, we learned we added 850,000 new jobs. That was good. That was good. We needed it because April and May were kind of disasters, and we'd really lost some momentum. So June helped, but here's the problem. We've got 9 million job openings. We just can't find the workers to fill them. So many people are on the sidelines in a big way. It is really having an impact on Main Street businesses all across this country. Wages are going up, But every month of this year, prices have gone up more, almost double. So for every month this year, purchasing power for families has actually shrunk. We hope that's short term, but if it's long term, it is a big problem. Unemployment long term went up last month, which again is puzzling. And then for people who sometimes have the toughest time getting back on their feet, for unemployment actually worsened for minorities, for young people, and for workers who don't have lots of skills. Things actually got worse for them. And so these are real problems. We're capable of working our way out of it, but we're going to have to make some changes. And I think right now the barriers that I'm hearing back home here and across the country is one, we just can't find the workers we need. And I think it's, at this point, I think it's Washington's fault. When you, with the federal unemployment benefits, were so generous that 4 out of 10 Americans, workers right now, are getting paid more to stay home than to go back to work. These people aren't lazy, they passed math. You're getting paid more to stay home than to go back to work. And when they're applying, they're not showing up for the interviews, and they're not taking the jobs when they're offered. Good news is, today, 22 states have ended the federal unemployment and said, let's go back to our state unemployment benefits. Let's help those who are laid off, but let's use our state. Why? Because, wages in Pinehurst are different than wages in San Francisco. And your federal unemployment benefits were so generous, they were paying them like they were the same, and a lot of good people were staying on the sidelines. The good news is, people in these states like Texas, we're seeing more people apply for jobs. We're seeing them show up for the interviews, and we're seeing them begin to accept these jobs. The problem is those 22 states only include about a quarter of all the workers in America. So until these federal generous benefits end around Labor Day, I think we're going to still struggle. And this isn't just our small businesses that are struggling. These aren't just retail and restaurants and all that. You see it all in up and down businesses. One of the reasons that we can't find the supplies you need, I don't know if you're seeing this, but you don't have the supplies you need. The deliveries are awfully slow. The costs are much higher. And it's because businesses tell us they can't find the workers to man the production lines. And until we do, we're not going to get back on our feet as fast as we should as a country. The other thing is, look at this, COVID was just brutal. And Washington needed help. And we came together 5 times, Republicans, Democrats, to provide aid to small businesses, to our hospitals, to our law enforcement, to just the vaccines, the testing, the technology, all this stuff going forward. But we continue to spend, and I think it's becoming a problem. And so I asked our staff on Ways and Means, so how much help have we provided families? And this number is going to shock you a little, but it's accurate. So since the pandemic began, and this September coming up here, for a family of 4, average family of 4 in America, where both parents lost their jobs, we've already approved over $109,000 in government checks to them. For a family that had one worker out of work for a while, we've approved over $67,000 for each and every family. I think this helped a lot of families get through this crisis, but at some point, you got to stop the emergency spending. We got to get people back to work and back on their feet. Your government can't be the Olive Garden of never-ending government checks, like the never-ending pasta bowls. We can't be a government that right now they're talking about a 4th stimulus check, a 5th stimulus check, and maybe universal income. Well, people aren't going to go back to work. Kids are not going to see their parents go to work. You're going to have a new generation dependent upon those government checks. We've got to find a way. I think we help people most when we help them connect to a good job and their paychecks are going up. That's how we help families rebuild their lives. That's how we help America rebuild our economy. So in Washington, we need less of party now because we're going to see a hangover tomorrow, and that's going to be a real problem for us as a country. So we've got to rethink right now how we're tackling how we come out of this COVID. The other issue I think second big problem is what we're seeing here in Texas, which is this massive attack on energy, on oil and gas companies, on energy workers in America. It's like they have a target on their back in Washington these days. Canceling of the Keystone XL pipeline cost us 10,000 jobs immediately. We had two businesses not far from here in Katy who told me they were planning to hire 1,000 workers each the week the president shut that pipeline down. And not only that, America, because of that, Russia and China and the Middle East are cheering those decisions because we're becoming less energy independent and actually increasing greenhouse gas emissions. By canceling them, doesn't make sense. The administration paused leasing of oil and gas leasing on federal lands and waters. They could come out with a decision on a permanent ban on leasing next week, it's Friday already, so maybe next week. If they do that, that'll cost about 1.5 million energy jobs, many of them here in Texas. Good paying energy jobs. And then recently the president came out with a whole laundry list of tax increases I want to tell you about, but 11 of them target Texas energy workers and companies. And these tax increases, they total $100 billion. That's such a big number, it's just hard to grasp. But $100 billion that'll land on top of our energy businesses and their workers. And it's from everything from incentives that encourage energy companies to reinvest in new equipment and new technology. There are incentives that help fund the new pipelines across America. There are incentives to help the smallest independent oil and gas producers. Those small men and women, the mom and pops that do 15 barrels a day or less, they're taking away that small business deduction there. If those tax hikes go through, it will cost us about 1 million jobs in the oil and gas industry. Again, a lot of them here in the Houston area, a lot of them in Texas, and it doesn't make sense. But there are other taxes, and I wanted to go through them real quickly because they land on you. And we've got to find a way together to stop them. But these tax increases, the president, as you know, has proposed a massive increase on taxes for businesses, large and small. Corporations just aren't the big guys. They are right here in our community. We have millions of small businesses that are corporations. And he's proposing the highest tax in history, biggest gain, 1/3 increase in these taxes. If that happens, you're going to see less hiring, less businesses survive this pandemic. You're going to see America, our tax code will be the highest in the world among our competitors, worse than China's, and on par with Syria. Syria is not the economic neighbor you want to be associated with. And as a result, you'll see, my worry is corporations don't pay taxes, they collect them. And so higher taxes land on who? Their workers, they land on their customers, they land on the families who invest. Our retirements are invested in these businesses, in their success. It'll be part of our nest egg when it's time to retire. And it lands on the communities these businesses are in. And so when someone says, oh, don't worry, we're just taxing businesses, trust me, it's landing on working families all across America. And what I worry is that we will see a return to the old tax code, where it seemed like, remember, almost every month we'd open the paper, go online, and read about another U.S. company packing up and moving overseas, taking their jobs, their headquarters, their manufacturing. When we passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the number of businesses moving overseas went to 0. It stopped dead, and not one has done it since we changed our tax code. I worry we're going to go back to the bad old days when we saw companies forced really to move overseas. The other changes in the tax code, I think, as you know, we lowered rates for families. We lowered taxes for small businesses. We redesigned the tax code so that our companies, large and small, could compete and win anywhere in the world, including here at home. And it worked. America became the most competitive economy on the planet, #1, where we should always stay. Two, we lowered taxes in a way that our companies could beat companies from Germany and China and Japan and Canada and others. And it created a giant sucking sound back in the United States. For the first time, we saw 500,000 manufacturing jobs come back here. We saw research, investment, headquarters all come back to the United States. My worry is if we reverse all that, we'll see a giant sucking sound the other direction. And it'll hurt communities, even states as strong as ours are going to be affected. The other thing, I talked about energy, but I really worry about a bunch of taxes landing on our small businesses here. We're all supportive of infrastructure. We need more funding for roads and bridges and ports, waterways and railroads and broadband and issues like that. And I'm confident we can find a way forward here. But we've got an investment infrastructure in America. You don't think about it, but we kind of do. And the way it works, it really drives dollars into our local communities, our local businesses, into our growth. And right now, the White House has proposed 5 major tax increases that really, I think, harm investment in our local communities. They are proposing to double the capital gains tax on people who invest. They're saying just millionaires, but in truth, these will hurt and hit a lot of Americans who invest. And the reason I tell you this is important is that there's a reason we have a lower tax rate for investing back into a business or a community. Because when you and I earn $1, and after Uncle Sam takes its share, there's only 3 things we really can do with it. We can spend it. That's good for Main Street retail businesses. That's good for my wife. It's good for me. We spend. You can save it. So that's good for you on retirement for that rainy day. It goes into a local bank or financial institution, gets loaned out in the community. That's better. That's even more pro-growth. But there's a third thing you can do. It's the riskiest thing you can do, and you can invest. You can invest in a local business. You can invest in a bigger business. You can, instead of going to a restaurant, you can invest in a restaurant. Instead of buying a car, you can invest in expanding a car dealership. You can buy stocks. So it's risky. You're not guaranteed to get money back, but it's the most pro-growth you can do to drive our economy and our community. So the reason we have a lower tax rate is to encourage more Americans to invest back in their community, back in new jobs, and back in America. And if you double that tax rate, my worry is you're going to punish people for doing that behavior. And we'll have less businesses on Main Street and less opportunities for our kids going forward. They're proposing to repeal what's called stepped-up basis. If you're not in real estate, you may not be familiar with this, but if you are, you're probably starting to sweat. Because this is a tax provision that encourages people when you buy, a rental house or maybe a unit with two rental units, and you buy it, you maintain it, and you rent it out, and you decide, I'm going to sell it. Well, under the tax code today, when you sell that and you buy another property like it that's the same size or bigger, you don't pay taxes right then. You defer it. So what happens is that people are able to build their nest egg, rental properties or others. Farmers can buy more land, and if they exchange it with other farmers, not pay taxes on it, it really creates a lot of investment. They're proposing to eliminate. It is going to be a big challenge and discourage people from making those investments. There's 4 or 5 others similar to that, all of which I think are going to land back on you and back on our community. Final point, 2 points. One, we do need infrastructure. The original bills that were proposed were more Green New Deal than roads and bridges. But the Senate's come together on an infrastructure package, and that is more, I think, true infrastructure, and they do it without tax increases. I think that's really important. I'm kind of hopeful we can find that it'll be what they say it is. We're examining it right now. But here's how I want to close. When you listen to all these tax increases, the damage they do to our community, hopefully you're asking, is there some way to stop this? And the answer is yes. I couldn't have told you that 2 months ago because it looked like this was all being rushed through Congress. There was going to be little chance of stopping it. But that's changed. The more Americans realize how damaging these tax increases, crippling these tax increases are, the more they're becoming opposed to it. They know now we can do infrastructure without funding roads and bridges on the back of working families and small businesses. More and more Americans support infrastructure, but not if you're going to send U.S. jobs overseas to do it. And I think more and more lawmakers in Washington are starting to understand that these tax increases, even if they fund roads, America's a net loser. We lose jobs doing this. And so there's an opportunity here to stop these increases. I think Congress in July is going to pass a procedure that allows Congress to fast track all these tax increases, to fund a huge new spending bill, huge trillions of dollars of new spending, and come back in September and actually do that. So we have an opportunity in July and August to change things. There are very slim margins in the House and Senate. Only 4 votes in the House will stop these increases, only 1 in the Senate. Turns out Texas, we have 3 of those votes here in our state. We have 3 moderate Democrats who run as pro-business Main Street Democrats who listen to their community and I think care about our small business. And I think July and August, it's going to be incredibly important for community and business leaders like you to reach out to those lawmakers because no one has more credibility than community and business leaders. These are your jobs, your investment, you care, and lawmakers listen to you. And so Henry Cuellar down in the Valley, pro-trade, pro-energy Democrat, Colin Allred, Congressman from Dallas area, another pro-energy, pro-business district. Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher here in Houston represents a very pro-energy district. A lot of workers impacted, hurt by this. And so what I'm encouraging our business community to do is speak out against these tax increases. Urge every member of Congress from Texas to stop them, to stop those tax increases. Don't punish our economy and our community. And we have some of the lists of some of those moderate Democrats on your table. We encourage you, if you know them, if you have workers there, if you have investments in those communities, ask for a meeting. Tell them what the impact would be on your community. Ask them to fight for your jobs and your business just like they fight for others. Do it in a respectful way. These are good people. But they need to hear from our small business community, in our energy community, because it's not just big energy that gets hurt when you kill those jobs. It's all those small businesses that support them, all the communities like ours that depend upon them. So you got a chance in July and August. Think about people you know, friends you know, workers you know in these districts. Reach out, have that conversation, make the case, and ask them to fight for our communities in our industry. If you do that, I'm convinced that we can stop these tax increases and we can get back on track to have just a banner 2021 economically and in our community. And after the year we had, I think American Texas deserves a banner year in the economy. With that, God bless you. Thank you so much for having me here today. You do a great job.
I'm going to let them know we have time for a couple of questions.
Oh, yeah, great. Thank you very much.
All right, we do have time for a couple questions. So
great. So Raymond said we have time for a couple easy questions. I think that's what I heard him say. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, no, it's a great question. So right now, there's no question the biggest crisis we've got maybe in America is on the border right now. If you've been down there, I have never seen it like this. And it is not just the sheer amount of people and the sheer amount of children down there. And no matter how you have that process, it is cruel for those kids. It just is. And there's so many now, they're starting to push our U.S. kids that are in foster care out of their homes and housing. And it's just not the people. We're seeing like 8 times as much fentanyl, which is just a killer of Americans come across, sex trafficking, violent crime, all that stuff. We are really, I've been down there a number of times, we are pushing the White House to come down here, see what we're seeing. States like ours pay a price, and have a plan. Put a plan in place to address it. Because I don't think we're going to address immigration as long as you've got this just surge over the border. And there's no end in sight. You talk to our border agents, who, by the way, most of our border agents are actually, they grew up on the border. They care about these. These are their communities. They really care about it. And I ask them, so what's the end in sight here? And the answer, there isn't one. How many kids are there in Central America? Because they're not slowing down. And so that's the number one issue, the border crisis we have to address. The second is we need a solution here. And I think at the end of the day, the solution is you gotta shut the back door of illegal immigration so you can keep open the front door of legal immigration. So people who want to better themselves, be part of this great country, bring skills to this country, we ought to welcome them. Texas, look, we are proud of our immigrants. It's a big part of who we are. We just have to insist you come through the front door. I think there's a way to shut that back door with much better border security. And yeah, where it makes sense, you need barriers. Where it makes sense, along with technology, Secondly, we need to encourage people who can help our economy. After we train up our U.S. workers and get them jobs, we're going to need some help. We ought to do that. And for those who work, those who serve our military, who are in law enforcement, we need to find a path to a legal status. I'm not talking citizenship. I think citizenship is reserved for those who come through the front door, who follow the rules, play by the rules, do it right. And I think we ought to give their kids a chance, by the way, you know what I mean, to be part of this country. But it all starts with shutting that back door, and until that happens, and there's some safety and security, my worry is we're not going to make much progress here. What do you think?
I completely agree. A lot of legal residents and legal immigrants that are trying to get their citizenship at this point feel very demoralized at the simple fact that you have all of these illegal immigrants coming in and they're basically jumping the line.
It costs tens of thousands of dollars to come in the front door. It takes years. Our office works, and Sherry's does, Michael does, Dan Crenshaw. We're fighting all the time to get people up that backlog, and it's just not it's not right the way we treat people who are coming in the front door. So I guess one more maybe, Raymond? Did I say easy? I may not have mentioned the easy part. What the heck? Yes, sir.
I'll jump in. We all know you're hearing about supply chain problems and delays and we can't get chips. Is there any discussion in Congress to be sure that some of these critical supply sources, I'm thinking chips, but it could be anything, are made domestically so that we're not burdened by whatever.
Yeah, no, it is a great question. So the short answer is yes. Look, we've all learned a lot of lessons from COVID, right? Well, one of them is that we have to become medically independent from China on medicines, on medical equipment, supplies, the ingredients to manufacture it here in America, and on the technologies. And Congressman McCall, by the way, is leading the effort in the House, along with Senator Cornyn, to start manufacturing more of these chips here in the United States. But that's not the only ingredient that we're way too reliant on other countries to do. And the other advantage I think we have here is, thanks to the new trade agreement by President Trump with Canada and Mexico, we've got a chance to sort of pool the strengths of all three countries so that we anchor the production of these things in America, but these other countries help us produce them. So together, we're just stronger going forward. The challenge is it's not going to happen overnight, but shame on us if we don't take action on the lessons we've learned from COVID. Do y'all agree with that? Folks, we need to be doing that here. Yeah, thank you. Hey, look, just so you know, while I'm retiring, I love my job. I have loved representing you. It's been the honor of my lifetime. I've gotten to do big things I never dreamed because you had faith in me all these years. And I just can't thank you enough. We still got a year and a half left here, so we got some issues to fight and on your behalf. And I will tell you this, I'm leaving Congress the way I came, which is I have absolute faith this is the greatest country on earth. You know, we are a remarkable nation. Yeah, we are. I know each day the media, you go on put down your phone, turn off TV. You know, what they're telling you every day that we're a hateful, racist, angry nation is simply not true. Turn off that media, you'll hear the true heartbeat of who Tomball, Texas, America really is. We're a country, we're the most charitable nation on earth, and you can barely see second place from where we're at. We're a country more than 1 million men and women have given their lives to. Now we have hundreds of thousands around the world defending our freedom right now because they believe in us. We're a country, you know, we feed the hungry. We house the homeless. We find health care for people who in Tamagua, you know, who need it. In natural disasters, we race to each other's help. We don't ever give a thought to what color your skin is, what your politics, what your religion, where you were born. No one cares. We just are our brother's keeper. That's who America. Are we a work in progress? Absolutely. There are plenty of things for us to work on, but don't ever forget we are the most blessed nation on the world, on the planet. We are a good nation full of people like you. Look around your table, look around your church, look around your job, and you'll find people who care for each other and care for this community. Never forget how amazing this country is. God bless you guys. Thank you, Raymond. Appreciate it. Thank you.